call this story Owning Their Solution in the Weld Shop, and here's why. About a year and a half ago, I was invited by a leading consumer brands manufacturer in central Pennsylvania to work with a team of welders to improve their safety, productivity, and responsiveness of their shop. Now, when a welder is needed, it means that the manufacturing lines or equipment need a critical repair or need help being brought up to running condition. So it's critical that the shop be efficient and safe. Walking through the shop about 4 weeks before the event, I saw a great opportunity as the shop was extremely cluttered. There was no visible evidence of what was going on and what normal and abnormal conditions were, and just looked cluttered and dirty. Now, we assembled a team, and the team was going to be 5 welders and 1 technical resource. And these were all skeptical folks, but they seemed to have great energy to have the opportunity to improve their weld shop. They didn't know how we were going to do it, but they were willing to try. So, thinking through in my preparation for the session, I decided to use the principles of 5S to help the team make the improvements that they so desired. So day 1, I taught them about 5S, and the first S is sort. Sort means to get rid of the things you don't need and only keep the things you do need in the space that's so critical. We went out to the shop and assessed everything in the shop and found that over 90% of what was in there was no longer needed, and we called it clutter. So we were able to remove it and dispose of it, and then what we had left was only the things that the welders had determined they needed to be able to service the lines safely and productively. Then, that afternoon, we started to work on set in order, the second S, which means that the only remaining materials now get put in their optimal locations so that the people in the shop can do their best work in, again, the safest and most productive manner. On the next day, we finished set in order and then went on to the third S, which is shine, which means that we're going to make sure that everything, now that it's optimal location, is also in optimal condition. So this is where the welders shine. Fantastic amount of effort to repair and clean and inspect any of the equipment. They made huge amount of improvements in the equipment, and they made it so that it would be easy to find anything they'd ever need when they needed it. So all the physical work essentially was done on the second day. Well, what were we going to do next? Well, they didn't know, but I gave them something to think about that night. I said, now we need to come up with a system that's going to ensure that it stays this way forever. Again, they were skeptical, but they went home and came in the next morning wondering what we were going to do next. Well, next was the fourth S, which is standardize, which means that we need to create an audit, something that makes sure that anybody can know when the system is working and when it's not working, and they can help. So, unfortunately, welders think that means let's build paperwork. And if you think about it, most people don't want to build and use paperwork. So I knew that I had to get them to come up with a way to audit their area, whether it be visual or paper or combinations. We needed to make sure that people would always be doing the right thing. So I explained it to them, and I talked to them about what that S means and what an audit should be, and they basically were having none of it. Undeterred, I gave them examples of how other teams had audited their spaces to make sure they were well sustained. They still seemed very uninterested. I then realized that I had to do something significant. I had to create an emotional event. I needed to get them so angry that they would take ownership of their audit and create it for themselves. But I was having no luck. Finally, I showed them a PowerPoint slide of an audit, and I started to go through each line one at a time. About 6 lines into the audit, the team leader stood up and said, "Adam, we don't want to hear any more about this. We're going to the smoke shack. We're going to figure out what we want to do, and when we come back, we'll tell you what we're going to let us do and let you do." Well, they stormed off. All 6 of them stormed off, and they went away for about 20 minutes. Now, I have to tell you that it felt like it was 2 hours, and I was alone in the room, but I basically had accomplished what I was trying to accomplish. It just didn't feel great because I didn't know if they were ever going to come back. Well, they came back and they had smiles on their face, looked like the cat that ate the canary, and the team leader said to me, Adam, you get on the computer, you type in what we say, and we're going to tell you what our audit's going to be. And I said, okay, that sounds fine. So they basically gave me 11 lines to audit, 11 different things that they thought was the most important things to ensure that people would always do the right thing. Interestingly, it looked pretty similar to the audit I was showing them, but it was in their words and it became their audit. Now, we implemented that audit in a very visual way before the end of the week, and at the report out, the team was able to show a leadership team plus some visiting executives what they had done. And it was just amazing, night and day, what the shop looked like before we started and what it looked like now. But towards the end of the report out, they showed the audit. And they told leadership in front of the executives, here's what we need from you. We need you to hold us accountable to keep our space as it is. We also need you to hold yourself accountable to audit our space so that it stays that way and helps keep yourself accountable to help us as well as keep us accountable to keep doing the right thing. Well, can you do this, leadership? And of course, leadership had to say yes because they were standing in front of the executives, but they were so moved by the passion of the team that they knew they would do it. So after the report out was over, and after everybody shook the hands of the team members, I took my team back into the room. And I wanted to get feedback from them about how the week went for them. What did they like? What didn't they like so much? And one key bit of information they told me was, Adam, we need you to be more forceful next time. We need you to be more stern with us. And I said, well, that's interesting, given the fact that you stormed off on me in the middle of one of the days. But hey, live and learn. Be more forceful. I'll give it a try. They thanked me, and the shop has been the most efficient it has ever been. I hope this story provided you with some inspiration to revisit your own processes. I have a lot more I'd like to share. Head over to pi-partners.com to learn how I can help. And check back from time to time for more Kaizen stories.